Welcome to OUTdrive, folks. I'm your host, Cliff Callis, and each week I'm bringing you actionable marketing insights you can apply to reach, connect with, and convert rural American consumers. OUTdrive is powered by Callis, a full-service advertising agency with a focus on marketing rural America. Callis offers a wide range of integrated marketing services, including website development, search engine marketing, social media, video, and digital. We develop strategic and creative campaigns to build your brand and your business, and you can learn more about us at ecallis.com. Now join me in the front seat as we head out on the road to success. Let's go. Hey folks, welcome to OUTdrive. We've got another great story to share with you today about life and work in rural America. You know, when we think about some of the businesses, organizations, and people who we could have on our podcast, some are just a natural, with a focus and a love for our way of life that is pretty much the same as ours. And that brings us to our guest today. Jonathan Fish is the market president for Sedalia and the regional president of BTC Bank, a banking organization with a focus on serving rural communities. BTC was founded in Bethany, Missouri, and has grown to 23 facilities throughout the state. Their focus is on community, youth, and agriculture, and they've built their bank by attracting and retaining the right people and providing innovative products and services that you might not typically find in a rural market. John grew up in the banking business, earned his degree from Mizzou, and has settled here in our community, where he is raising his family and growing his business. Find out more about what makes BTC unique, how their focus drives their products and services, and how their people make the difference. Welcome to OUTdrive, John.
Good morning. Thanks for having me.
You're welcome. I've been excited to get you on here. You've had a busy life the last few years, getting a new bank up and running in a new community, and certainly want to talk about that. I think you guys take a very innovative approach to the products and services and the way you deliver them for a bank that really serves a rural market. And so we want to talk about, maybe the why behind that and how you do that. And certainly we want to talk about your marketing. I think you've done a great job of building a really strong brand. But before we get into any of those things, let's start by having you tell our audience just a little bit about yourself.
Sounds good. Again, thanks for having me. Appreciate being here. So, name's Jonathan Fish. I am the South Region President for BTC Bank. I've been with BTC for about 7.5 years now. Started as a loan officer and then transitioned from that to a market president, and then just in the last 1.5 years as a regional president. Started my banking career in Rolla. Got a degree from University of Missouri and did a smaller bank in Rolla for a couple of years. And then got married to my wife, Lindsay, and we decided to locate evenly between her family and mine. So Sedalia is where we ended up. And we've appreciated and enjoyed our time here and have started our family. We've got 2 children. I got a daughter that's 6, Marin, and a son that is 4. His name's Jetson. So we enjoy our time here in Sedalia and have been pretty grateful for it.
Well, we're glad you picked Sedalia to locate here. We think it's a pretty great place. And, as people move into the community, they seem to think the same as well. I noticed that your degree is agribusiness. Did you always think that you were going to be a banker?
No, there's a story behind that and probably not long enough a podcast to go through it. But I ended up on ag business and that's what I'm graduating with, and I always kind of tell people never planned to be a banker, but I spent a lot of days growing up in a bank with my dad. And so it kind of became natural for me and grateful I've had a mentor to kind of bounce things off of as I've started this career.
Was Mizzou always the number one choice?
It was. Obviously, growing up in mid-Missouri, it's hard not to want to go there. Plus, when you got some buddies that are also going there, it makes that choice a little easier.
So you said you went to work for a different bank to start with. Was that sort of always the plan?
Yeah, I ended up doing an internship with them while in college. That was a big push there at the Egg School in Mizzou, was to do an internship in the summer. And so since my wife was from Rolla, it's kind of where we thought we'd start. So I did an internship and then went back there after I graduated. And like I said, worked there for about 2.5 years.
So at that point, you get the opportunity to come to BTC. I'm sure that was kind of all part of the thinking all along. Tell us about BTC. Tell us what you're all about.
We're a 105-year-old bank, 106 now. We've headquartered in Bethany, Missouri. It's where we were founded. We've got 23 locations now with the construction of our Sedalia location, about 250 employees, and we're sitting about 1.4 billion in assets. And so how that translates is we are a community bank. We serve rural markets, and Sedalia is the second biggest market we're in. And so we do focus on the rural markets, and what the size allows us to do is to meet the needs of fairly large customers, but then also provide the service to the smaller customers, smaller communities that we're associated with.
So is that what you believe makes you unique? Is this ability to do that?
100%. It's not just that. I mean, our size and our structure as an institution, the flexibility that we're allowed makes our job at each location so much easier. We're able to operate each branch almost like as a standalone institution. Our management allows us to use the tools that we need to meet the needs and services of the customers in that particular community. It allows us to, again, better serve and interact and engage with those community members.
So, there's not a lot of banks that can say that they're over 100 years old. I congratulate you on that. It's very impressive. What do you think are the reasons for the longevity?
Service is an easy one to go to, and most businesses and banks are going to say that. I do think ours is deeper than that. We really do want to see the success of each of those communities. We do believe that a bank can solidify some of these small communities, and as soon as a bank leaves, it really puts a stress on how successful those communities can be economically and with growth. So service is a big part. And like I said, the commitment to those small towns and those small communities to stay there, to be present, to be invested has allowed us to continue that stronghold and continue to grow as an institution. We made a strategic decision a few years back and said, there's been a lot of consolidation within banking. And how do we potentially avoid being a part of that consolidation? With that is growth. And you're going to have to get to a size that we can be sustainable long term. And that was kind of our goal. And we've done that. Again, that allows us to provide additional services and products to these rural communities that they typically wouldn't have.
So, when you looked at Pettis County, you really did look at a rural community when you picked Beeman to enter into our county. And as I reflect back upon that, I think that was genius. But I want to hear from your perspective why you picked that particular location and then how that evolved into a larger presence that you have today.
Yeah, ultimately, it comes down to people on both sides of that equation. We had the opportunity to team up with some individuals in the area that had connections with people down this way and had built those relationships. And so we said, there's a demand there in Beeman out north Pettis County, and we think that's a demand that needs to be met. And so we made that decision. Yeah, we're going to put a bank out in the middle of nowhere and watch it be successful. And that's what's happened. We were pretty devoted to serving those customers and providing that service to them. And with that, it's allowed us then to grow into other parts of Pettis County. And I think that reflects obviously with our investment here in Sedalia and our plans to continue to grow this market.
So, was that the first time you went out in nowhere?
That out in nowhere, yeah. We don't have many banks sitting out on a county highway that's inside of a metal shop. So that is pretty unique in and of itself. But that model is how we've grown most of our markets. We had that mobile building here in Sedalia. That's the third place that thing has been. We're able to pick that up. It's 5 shipping containers. We can take that wherever we want to go, wherever we think there's opportunity, put it down. And if we can find the right people to work that market and to build those relationships, we've seen success. And that's what we've aimed to do is find the relationships, find the people to come work with us, to come be a part of BTC Bank and serve those markets.
So, you think that mobile bank could go somewhere else next time?
It will go somewhere else. It may be a few months, but I'd say at some point this year, it's going to be moved.
I like also the way that you came into the Sedalia city limits market in that you did establish sort of a temporary location as you built the new bank, which I know probably started to generate some new customer relationships, certainly a lot of conversation. That was the plan all along then.
Yeah, I mean, probably the biggest thing it allows us to do is start staffing a bank. If I had to build a team just day one with the great big facility and staff it and have them trained, it would be pretty difficult. But that mobile unit allows us to get a team staffed and trained in how we do things at BTC Bank and get them comfortable for when we do open in a new facility.
So, what's the reception been from the Sedalia market?
It's been really good. Again, we've been in Pettis County for 7.5 years. And here in the last 3 years, we started making a little bit of a push into city limits and picking up some business from some commercial customers and some residential customers, but it's kind of been what we expected it to be. There's a demand for what I call a little bit old school style of banking, a little bit more service oriented. And so we knew that niche was here, and it's been a good transition, and we've been very busy.
So you have another location where you have a sign. You don't have a physical location there now, but there is a sign on a piece of property just north of town. Really great location. What are your plans for it?
Yeah, our first plans, and it'll happen sometime this year, is to put an ITM, a standalone ITM there, ATM, ITM there. And yeah, we agree, or my opinion, that Pettis County or Sedalia is going to continue to move north there. That will be a very popular location at some point in the future. Not saying we're planning anything at this point, but as long as Sedalia continues to grow, I would not be surprised if we put another location out there north of town.
That's a great way to take advantage of traffic patterns to really do banking without actually having to have a physical facility to do it. And of course, the way technology is, those machines are pretty intuitive, pretty easy to use. And certainly in a high traffic location, you can do a lot of business from those, right?
Yeah, for sure. I'm going to touch on that, take a step deeper, and kind of show the audience the innovation that BTC Bank is willing to put out there. We are 30 days out from implementing a true mobile branch, and it is on wheels. It is pulled by a truck, and it is as mobile of a branch as you can imagine. It'll sit in one location for 2 days, and then the plan is to move it and have it sit in a different location for 2 more days within that week. And again, that allows us to truly meet the needs of rural customers all over the state of Missouri and hopefully into Iowa.
So, how do you decide where you're going to put that? Like the 2 days and then the 2 days, how do you decide where that's going?
Demand for the most part. We pick up customers from all over. And if we can pick a general area that we have a decent following or decent base of customers, it's a way for us to put a location in that community, not fully commit to a brick and mortar if we don't think it could work long term, but provide them a little bit better service and see what kind of foundation we can build there.
As you're considering a new market, as you did when you entered Pettis County at Beam, and you talked about the people and both people on the inside of your organization, but also people outside that you could either attract, I guess, as current customers or potential customers. But as you consider a new market, are there other things that you look at as well?
Yes, at times. Obviously, there's a lot of banks in Sedalia, and I don't know how many times I've heard that. Why would you put another bank in Sedalia? There's already a plethora of them. But there are some exterior variables that we will look at. There were some here in Pettis County. Again, we were getting hit up on needs of customers that weren't being met for whatever the reason may be. That's a big driver on it. But then, yeah, I want to touch back on the staff and the employees at BTC Bank that kind of make us who we are and as successful as we are. I work with a great team of people there in Beeman and now here in Sedalia. The work ethic that they put in, I mean, to build something from the ground up is not easy. It takes a lot of work. And I want to tip my cap to those employees that I work with every day that have put in the time and energy to get where we're at. And I'm going to say that's probably the most important thing when opening a new market is that team you have with you to kind of set that foundation and grow off of. But yeah, there are other variables we look at. Obviously, we want to make sure it's a growing market, which Sedalia is very economically stable here in Sedalia. It's got a lot of things going for it. So,
Yeah, but it's always about the people in it.
yep.
So, how has your role changed as you've taken on more responsibilities on a regional basis?
It definitely changes every day, to be honest. Probably a lot more of a human resource role than previously, which is fine. I enjoy working with our employees. I enjoy trying to put them in positions that help them be the most successful. So that's been the biggest change is dealing with more of the human resource side with employees and working with them. And then just time management. Some of my staff would probably think that's funny, but you can't meet all the needs and all the wants of everybody. And so you just got to rely on your team members to help you get that done.
So, why would your team think that time management would be kind of funny?
Probably because I don't have the best of it, would be my guess.
Well, I have seen BTC do some really innovative things from a product and service standpoint. Why don't you talk a little bit about some of those things?
Yeah. So on the product side, most banks offer basically the same thing. And so that's where the competitive edge of service comes into play. But I do think there are some products that we have employed and we offer that do set us apart that most institutions do not have. A couple of them that I will knock on or touch on will be youth accounts. We put a big focus on youth and giving back to youth and banking with youth. So we've got very good youth accounts, youth savings accounts that got competitive rates. But then they also offer incentives to the youth to get good grades. We pay them for their grade cards. And then we also have an incentive of them to save money and fill up a piggy bank. And if they can do that twice a year and bring it into the bank, we'll give them some money for that. Another one that is extremely popular among customers and employees is our mascot cards that we offer. Kind of the breakdown of that is majority of them are mascot cards for local school districts. We do carry one for Retrieving Freedom here in Pettis County, and a customer is able to pick that debit card when they open an account. And every time they swipe it, BTC Bank will donate 7.5 cents back to that school or Retrieving Freedom. And so that costs the customer no money. It costs the schools or Retrieving Freedom. It doesn't cost them anything. It's all from BTC Bank. And yeah, it just allows our customers to show some pride in their local schools or the ability to donate to organizations that they may not otherwise.
That's awesome.
I will touch on our succession planning, estate planning, and farm management department. Again, as we continue to grow, we understand there's going to be a large transfer of wealth here in the next 10 years. And with that, there needs to be some estate planning and succession planning in place for a lot of these farmers. So that is a big emphasis we've put on here in the last couple of years, is to build that department to be able to provide those services when that takes place.
So I think this would be a good time to just kind of take a step back. If somebody's out there listening and they've heard about maybe one of these products, or they're thinking about, the succession of their family farm, how would you like for them to get a hold of you?
Yeah, they can go to any BTC bank, wherever they're at, the closest one. They could call in, they can email in. Our staff is so flexible. They will come to you. They will do everything they can to get to you in a convenient way and to help take care of your needs. So they could call, email, again, go to any local branch and the staff will take care of you. If your needs are local, if they're not, if they're with the estate planning or succession planning, those individuals will come to you to meet you and take care of those needs.
Okay. So in prepping for today, I noticed that the bank's focus is community, youth, agriculture. And as you've been talking about these products and services, I mean, they fall right in line with all of that. What else is the bank doing to kind of reflect this focus?
I'll start with community. It is our goal to donate $1 million annually to the communities we serve. And we do that in a variety of ways. A lot of it is solicited from the outside for fundraisers, for organizations. We do donations via Blue Jean funds for employees every week to wear jeans on Fridays. And then those employees, as a branch, get to decide where they want to donate those funds on a semi-annual basis, which is awfully fun for them. And so we donate a lot of money, and we also show up in those communities. We try to donate our time and energy as well. And we're pretty excited to be able to show that here in today. Again, we're still fairly new, but we're excited to show Pettis County how much we do get involved and how much we do show up to help our community. On the youth side, in addition to the donations and different things that we partake in, we also have BTC Bank founded and does help fund a non-for-profit BTC AYBC, which is Area Youth Benefit Corporation. That is a organization that different groups are able to submit a request or an application for funding. Whether here lately we've been sending a lot of funding out for FFA kids to attend their Washington trip. They donate funds all across the board to all different kinds of things, and allows us to reach a plethora of youth in all of our markets in different ways. And then on the agriculture side, we're deep in agriculture. It's an industry that at times can struggle. And as I said earlier, we do believe or have the thought that as long as we can keep a bank open in some of these rural communities, we can help that economy continue to sustain and grow. We have seen in the past when that bank is pulled out, it does put a strain on those rural communities. And obviously, rural communities are driven by agriculture. So our drive and commitment to agriculture is going to continue for as long as we're here. I'd like to say we're the number one egg bank in the state of Missouri by volume and one of the top 50 egg banks in the United States. So,
Well, as a community member, as a supporter of agriculture and supporter of youth, I want to thank you on behalf of all those organizations for everything that BTC does. $1 million of contribution is significant. We can do a lot of things with that, and it's very impressive. And I think it says a lot about the kind of people that you are. And so, again, thank you on behalf of our community. much of what you've been talking about for the last few minutes is really marketing kinds of things. Are there specific marketing things that you do to tell your story beyond these things, which really are going to generate a lot of word of mouth, positive word of mouth? What do you think is the most effective way of telling your story?
Being authentic. We're not trying to be somebody we're not. We know who we are, we know who we want to be. And so when we tell our story, we can tell it as true as anybody. And so I think being authentic and how we do that has been probably the most effective way to get our name and our story out there. Obviously, we have a great team of marketers in the bank, and they do a great job of sharing that story, and not just of the bank, but also the employees and the people within the bank, and sharing with our community and our customers who's there and who we are and what we're doing has been an impact. And obviously, like you said, word of mouth is always going to be the biggest driver of marketing and business development. That comes from taking care of the customers and providing the service and meeting their needs. We attend a lot of trade shows, a lot of events. Again, try to be present in those communities and all of our communities and share that we're more than just a bank. We really want to do good and provide back and support as many different things as we can.
Well, that authenticity is important. I mean, people can see through the other so easily. And it does, when you're telling who you are, it really is part of the marketing positioning of this is who we are. And that's not going to be for everybody. I always think about in business, even though you'd like to think that you could be a provider for every particular customer, it's not going to fit for whatever reason. I know just from experience that people don't just change banks every day. That's one of those things that it's a big decision, it's a big relationship. So, from your perspective, why do people change banks?
Yeah, you're right. It's an awfully sticky relationship, and it is very difficult to make that transition from one financial institution to another. And banks have gotten pretty good at making that relationship as sticky as possible. But ultimately, it just comes down to, are they happy? Are they unhappy? And I talk to customers all the time. And I always start with, if you're happy at your bank, and that's what we want, and we're not going to push you to try to get you to move if you're happy with where you're at and you're being taken care of. But if you're unhappy and you don't think that service is there, or they're not meeting the needs that you need, give us a call, see if we can't help you out. But that's the biggest thing. Are they being taken care of? Are they happy with the service they're receiving? And if not, then yeah, they definitely start looking.
Do a lot of your new relationships start with some of these innovative products like a youth account or estate planning that you mentioned? Does it usually start with something like that and then evolve into a bigger and deeper relationship?
Yeah, definitely on the youth side, on the mascot card side, that is a big driver of new accounts and new relationships for us. At times, we do see it on the estate planning or succession planning, but I would say more on the products that we offer for youth, some of the free checking accounts that we offer, and then the mascot card is a big driver. People really do get behind supporting those schools.
So you've been in banking, well, you've been here in today for 7 years and banking a little longer than that. How is banking changing from your perspective? You surely have seen some change over that time.
Obviously, there's a big push in tech. A lot of changes on the tech side, which banks are having to adopt and get comfortable with. That is a push from these younger consumer bases, is to provide different options via text and mobile banking. And so that's been a big change and a big learning curve for some of the institutions. But honestly, the biggest thing, and I touched on it earlier, is just kind of the consolidation that we're continuing to see through banking and these smaller banks. It's just very difficult to operate currently as a small institution. Just the federal requirements and different costs that are associated via tech and via IT and all that stuff is becoming more and more of a burden on small institutions. And so we continue to see consolidation in the industry, and I think we will for here in the near future.
As I think about banking, and one of the things that's been interesting for me and being in the marketing business is to learn about different industries and how each industry is unique. They're all sort of the same when you look at things, but each industry has its own unique characteristics. What do you think people would be surprised to learn about banking today?
I don't know if they'd be surprised, but it is an awfully regulated industry. It is a constant job to take the regulations that are handed down to us from the FDIC and the federal government and to figure out how we can follow those regulations, but then still meet the needs and demands of our customers. That is the hardest part of our job, in my opinion. How can we meet the demands on the regulatory side, but then also meet those same demands on the consumer side. And so it is a very heavy regulated industry. There's things that we just cannot do, or there's things that we have to do a certain way. And consumers may not like that at times, but ultimately we don't have a choice. But we are daily trying to figure out how we can make this process for the consumer as simple as possible, but still meet those regulations.
It's been interesting just over the years for me to see banking relationship go from a handshake and maybe one piece of paper that you sign to a whole stack of documents that are, I think, speaking exactly to what you're talking about. And I could see that being a big challenge. How do you stay up with all the regulatory changes that are going on?
A very good compliance department. And it is constant. Those guys or gals are constantly busy trying to make sure we're meeting all the requirements and doing things correctly. It's a full-time job for a full-time department.
So technology is kind of the same. And for us, marketing is much like banking. Marketing changes every day. There are new vehicles, new best practices, new technologies, new techniques. How do you guys stay up on the technology side?
Thankfully, there's a lot of fintechs that are coming up and trying to provide kind of those niche products that it would be pretty difficult for smaller banks to create themselves. And ultimately, small banks are always competing with the products that the big banks offer. And obviously, those big banks can, more times than not, create those products on their own and implement them themselves. But the smaller banks, it's not as efficient or realistic. So we rely heavy, or have started relying heavier on some third tech partnerships to provide some of those products that customers are wanting that some of the big banks are already offering.
You get customers coming in all the time and saying, "Hey, can you do this?" Or "Are you guys offering this?" You find that happening?
We do. Yeah, we hear it a lot. Obviously, some of the younger generation is pushing that, but we do hear it often.
So let's go down a little different road and just talk about rural America a little bit. We both live in rural America. We work here. We're raising families here. But I think many times rural America is misunderstood. When I say the words rural America, what does it mean to you?
The biggest thing that I would think of or would associate with rural America is how committed everybody is to the community as a whole and how we show up all the time for whatever the event may be. If there's someone in need or if there's a organization that is in need, these communities always show up and provide their support in whatever way is needed. I think that is something that happens in most or all rural communities throughout America that the individuals that live in large metros don't get to see or don't get to experience.
Once again, all comes down to the people, good people. Hey, John, I've really enjoyed visiting with you. What else would you like to share with our audience that you think they might find interesting or maybe even inspiring?
I don't know if I'll inspire many people, but again, I want to touch back on my team and the work that they put in and how hard they work and helping our customers meet their goals. As an institution, as a BTC Bank, we always want to be an asset to our customers and we want to be productive to them in whatever they're trying to do. And I'd like to tip my cap to my team here in Pettis County and then BTC Bank as a whole and continuing that push and to help our customers be successful in what they're doing.
Well, we appreciate you doing that, and we're glad you're here and wish you all the best going forward as you develop your presence in Sedalia and wherever you choose to take BTC.
Thanks for having me.
You're welcome. Hey, folks, thanks for listening to OUTdrive. I hope you've enjoyed our visit today with Jonathan Fish, Regional President at BTC Bank here in Sedalia. If you liked the interview, go out and give us a nice rating and review, and come back again next week, and I'll take you down the roads of rural America where it's heaven on earth.
Thanks for taking a ride with us on OUTdrive. This episode is complete, so head on over to eCallis.com for more insight you can apply to help drive your business growth. And be sure to sign up for our free monthly e-letter, OutThink, for even more helpful content about marketing to rural America. Have a great day and keep on driving.